Musk wants to control these things, and what Trump promised Musk is that Musk will be in charge of the regulations and the businesses that Musk owns. So we've all seen this. These are guys that don't want to pay overtime. They're folks that don't want to have worker safety. These are folks that want to bust unions. He and Trump sat on there and were on tape saying when people strike, we should just fire them all. That's who these people are.
Tim Walz is now saying about Trump supporters, and forgive me, I'm just reading a quote from Tim Walz, I think I could kick most of their ass.
Oh boy, he'd be in trouble.
Is there any way to know?
Well, he's a loser, you know.
What happens when you tell billionaires they should pay taxes before running the country? Apparently they completely lose their minds. Governor Tim Walz dropped this truth bomb, and the aftermath was pure comedy gold as both Trump and Musk had total public meltdowns. Imagine being so rich yet so fragile that a simple comment about paying your fair share makes you post weird frog memes and misspell basic words like governor. Trump literally edited his post multiple times because he couldn't spell it right. This video breaks down the epic freakout that proves exactly why Walz's point was spot on in the first place.
And there's nothing conservative about an unelected South African Nepo baby firing people at the VA. And for our Republican neighbors now, all of a sudden they're like, I wanted my 401k to go down. I wanted this, you know. And that's not a joke. But look, I'm not going to waste all the time I'm in. I'm going to talk about his running mate. Elon's on that stage, jumping around, skipping like a dipshit on these things. You know it. Think about that. That guy is literally the richest man in the world, spending millions of dollars to help Donald Trump buy an election.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Ever wonder what happens when you tell billionaires they should pay taxes? Tim Walz just showed us, and it ain't pretty, folks. During a recent campaign appearance, Minnesota's Governor Walz dropped what should have been a pretty obvious statement that maybe, just maybe, billionaires should pay their fair share of taxes before they start telling everyone how to run the country. Nothing controversial there, right? But boy oh boy, did it trigger an absolute meltdown from America's favorite attention-seeking billionaire, Elon Musk. Walz delivered this truth bomb in his typical Midwestern style. No drama, no shouting, just that straightforward hockey coach energy he's known for. How about you pay your taxes and then you can go to space, Walz said calmly, like he was suggesting someone should probably mow their lawn before hosting a neighborhood barbecue. Basic stuff, the kind of common sense that people in diners across Minnesota would nod along to while having their morning coffee.
Well, I think that's what you do when you have no plan for the public, when you have no economic plan that's going to benefit the middle class, when you have no plan to protect reproductive rights, when you have no plan to address climate change and produce American energy, you go to these type of tactics. It's all about distraction.
There's a concept of a plan.
Yeah.
Aren't these tactics against the law, though? Aren't you?
Well, I'll let the lawyers decide, but it sure.
Fortunately, Governor Walz isn't here himself, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. He's going to say he was.
If you were a billionaire like his good buddy Elon Musk, things were really good because you got a tax cut, the rest of us got screwed. That's the way it worked during that time. Now, Elon says he is going to be, and Trump says it, he's going to be Trump's economy czar. Now, he says to make the economy work better, we're going to have to crash it first in order to save it. Now, he told you, get ready. Elon said, American folks, you're going to go through some hardships. Now, you tell me, what the hell does the richest man on earth know about hardship?
Walz said that socialism is just another word for neighborliness. She wants to be, he calls them neighbors, good neighbors. He signed a bill to give illegal aliens free health care. He abolished Columbus Day. He ordered tampons to be put into boys' bathrooms.
But Musk, he reacted like Walz had suggested we nationalize Tesla and turn his rocket ships into public transportation. Within hours, Musk's social media feed transformed into what can only be described as a billionaire having a digital tantrum. First came the Pepe the Frog memes, because nothing says I'm a serious person with serious thoughts, like posting alt-right frog cartoons when someone suggests you contribute to society. Then came the history lesson nobody asked for, with Musk randomly comparing himself to ancient Roman generals skulls or something. I guess when you have $200 billion, you can just make up whatever historical parallels you want. The fall of Rome began with taxation, Musk posted, conveniently forgetting that Rome actually fell for complex reasons, including, you know, corruption among the wealthy elite. Irony isn't his strong suit.
I mean, you had Tim Walz, who's a huge jerk, running around on stage with the Tesla stock price where the stock price had gone in half, and he was overjoyed. What an evil thing to do! What a creep! What a jerk! Like who derives joy from that? And it was pointed out to him that actually, you know, Minnesota State Pension Fund is a major investor in Tesla. But he didn't care. He was so overjoyed by Tesla stock going in half. Does that sound like a good person to you?
The spiral continued with a dozen increasingly unhinged posts about wokeness destroying civilization. Apparently, wokeness now includes the radical notion that billionaires should chip in for roads their businesses use. It was like watching someone with the world's most expensive Twitter account experiencing the 5 stages of tax grief in real time. What makes this whole situation so perfectly ironic is that Walz's point was essentially, billionaires don't understand basic civic responsibility. And what does Musk do? Immediately proves him right by throwing a public fit that would make a toddler who's been told to share his toys look mature by comparison. With each new post, Musk's arguments made less and less sense. One minute he's claiming to be overtaxed, despite famous years where he paid effectively 0 federal income tax. The next he's insisting he knows more about government than people who've actually governed. It's the financial equivalent of someone who's watched Grey's Anatomy telling a heart surgeon how to perform a bypass. The contrast couldn't be more stark. On one side, you have Walz with his policy papers, calm demeanor, and actual experience running a state government. On the other, you have Musk with his memes, rage posting, and experience. Running his social media followers into a frenzy. Seems like a fair fight. This whole episode perfectly highlights the core issue. Billionaires want influence without responsibility, power without accountability. They want to shape policy decisions that affect millions while considering their tax obligations optional. They demand to be treated like visionaries while acting like victims the moment anyone suggests they contribute their fair share. The most revealing part? How fragile the whole billionaire facade really is. One mild comment about taxes, and suddenly the genius innovator image crumbles, revealing someone who can't handle even the mildest pushback without spiraling into digital hysterics. If Musk melts down this completely over a tax comment, imagine how he'd handle actual governance challenges, negotiating international treaties, responding to natural disasters, or managing complex social issues. This brings us to the perfect payoff of Walz's point. If you can't handle being told to pay taxes, literally the most basic expectation of citizenship, how could you possibly handle running a country? It's like claiming you're ready to pilot a commercial airplane when you throw a fit about having to buckle your seatbelt as a passenger. So what's the lesson here, folks? When the ultra-rich have full-blown meltdowns over someone suggesting they contribute like the rest of us, they're basically telling us they can't handle basic adulting. Remember this spectacular tantrum next time someone argues billionaires should be running things. These guys freak out faster than a toddler who's been told to share their toys. If you think people with more money than small countries should maybe pay at least as much tax as your average teacher, hit that share button. Let's spread the word about these crybabies who want to control everything while contributing nothing. They can't handle criticism. Imagine them handling a real crisis.